Hey everybody, David here. So good to be with you every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You are my family. You are the church. I am the church. It's your church, my church, God's church. This is the new paradigm shift since there's so much confusion out there right now in the world. Churches not going back. Some churches going back, some churches beating their chest. I want my pulpit back. I want my pulpit back. And there's other churches that are saying, not only do I not want you to go back, I don't want you to meet in small groups. What is that all about? I mean, if you can't meet corporately, can't you be in small groups? So I want to talk tonight about Christian mental illness. That's right, spiritual insanity. It's called the double-minded man or woman. We're going to talk about this because I believe it's a disease that has crept into, quote, Christianity through the decades to the point where it's a delusion. People are delusional. And you know, the Bible talks about the delusions, that God will send a strong delusion. This is what is happening today. The double-minded Christian is obviously, it's a spiritual disorder, obviously. But it's also a mental disorder. I mean, it's even worse than schizophrenia or being a manic depressive or even being in a catatonic state of mind. This spiritual mental disease has infected so much of the Christian society that the Western world now, we look at Christianity and the church as like this cutesy Christianity, one size fits all. It's the latest fad. I'm a Christian. Yes. Because what, you were born into a Christian home? Is that what it is? Because you're part of a denomination? Is that because you were sprinkled with water one time? Is that what it is? Because you even made a profession of faith one time? Is that what it is? There's more divorce in Christianity today than there is in the secular world. The Christian suicide is rampant. 88% of the people have left church and 60 to 80% are not returning, and that's before the pandemic. Stop doubting the Bible? How about 4% in grade school don't even believe the Bible? And I'm thinking it's more like 94%, and I'll get into that later because how they teach cartoons in Sunday school instead of the real gospel. 40% in middle school don't believe the Bible. They started doubting in it. 40% in high school. So where is America in all this? Where is your country in all this? Why is the theory of evolution so important and the deterioration of faith is so prevalent now? You know, Christians say yes to abortion. 44% Christians say yes to abortion, 44% to homosexuality, and 52% believe that there's something wrong with the Bible. There's some errors in the Bible. But we need a revival. Oh, you really? Well, let me tell you what we need. We need restoration. We need people to turn to God and understand how powerful God is and to shake and to fear God. We need to let people understand the magnificence of God, yes, but also the judgment of God. You haven't gone back to church, you say, David. My church doesn't go back. Well, the Six Flags Over Jesus churches are still closed down. Well, what about Facebook? Well, what about YouTube? What about all these other platforms that these false prophets are now burning up the airwaves? It's like, I call it digital spaghetti. They just throw a bunch of stuff against the wall. And what happens is God's people are getting sucked into this stuff, into this propaganda, into this sensationalism, to the point that instead of being watchmen, we are watching men. Yeah, listen to me now. Instead of being watchmen for God, we are watching men. I'm getting so many videos that people are sending me, and it's sensationalism. By the way, I've heard this stuff, 5 years ago. It's just been repackaged. And it seems that everyone's sending me the same video about what's going to happen to President Trump and why, this is happening and why is that happening. Nothing wrong with dissecting things, because that's what we do on this show. Okay, we talk about things the church doesn't talk about. But folks, remember this, that the things you see in front of you, the things that are obvious, is what the devil is planting there for you to see. It's what we don't see is what he's doing. You think Satan is that stupid that he's going to just put things right in front of us in a video so that we can see it? No, he's going to give us a little bit of that truth. Meanwhile, he's working behind the scenes. And we say we're Christians. Now, this is why I call it Christian insanity, the mental illness of Christianity, because we say we're Christians. But how many people, quote, Christians, have gone out and looked the devils in the eye and cast them out in the name of Jesus? You have no right to the children. You are gone using your God-given authority, because you are the only one that has it. You and I. No one else has this authority. If not for us, then who? Or you're praying for that miracle. God, I need a miracle. But are you really believing that miracle is going to happen? Are you believing that you can point your finger and that sea today will part like it did with Moses? Are you believing you can pick up that rock and hit your giant and knock him over like David did? We have more power today than they had in the Old Testament. Why? Because God transferred that power to us. Now, when I say more power, we have access to the power, and it's very blatant, but we don't use it as Christians. Oh, I'm a Christian, David, but let's not talk about God. I mean, there's an appropriate place for that, when we go to church or when we're around like-minded people. This is the time when you're around people that are not like-minded. That is the time that we step out and we speak boldly the truth. Not when it's safe and we're around, our cutesy, congregation and, spewing the same dialogue. No, you don't hide your faith. And this is what my problem was. I was a split personality Christian. I spent most of my Christian life, which I became a Christian at a young age, but I was split. Why? Because one side of me was the church-going David. The other side was the let's make a movie artistic David. And I took God with me into church, so I thought. But then when I went on the movie set, I was a different person. You see, I was two personalities. It was a mental and spiritual illness. I had a disease. I would talk a certain way in church, and let me ask you this. How many of you guys have gone to church? You're praising God, you're jumping, you're on fire, you're watching a video, you're praising God, and then you go to your workplace and everything's real quiet, and you don't want to talk about God, and if someone says something about God, then, oh boy, I don't want to offend that person. See, that was my problem. I didn't want to bring up God because I either didn't want to offend somebody or I didn't want to get into that thing with them. You see? Till one day, I crashed and I burned and I melted and I actually died. I believe I died. But when I came back up as one person. The movie-making person met the church-going David, and we came up as one person. It's called integrity, integration. And that's when the mental illness, the disease was gone. I was healed. I was set free. And that's what you and I need to be doing, is to be setting each other free through the power of God. We have that power. We have the authority. All right? Let's go to James 1:6-8. James 1:6-8, Jared. This is talking about the double-minded man. And why is this so important right now? Because, folks, they're going to implement this vaccine. You know, this virus thing, they will have the vaccine. It's the beginning of what I call the insertion of the mark of the beast. You're going to have to make decisions. You're going to have to decide, are you going to buy and sell for your family by taking this mark? Or are you going to not take it, and it's going to be a rough road? This is where you cannot be a double-minded man. You have to stick to what God says and trust God. James 1:8, 6:8. But when you ask, you must believe not and doubt. Believe and not doubt. Because the one who doubts is like a wave at the sea, blown and tossed by the wind. That person should not expect to receive anything from the Lord. Such a person is a double-minded, unstable in all they do. You go, David, I do ask God and I do believe it. I'm not coming against you. I'm talking about me. I'm talking about all of us. Like, the mission is that we pray that when we leave this gathering, that we leave on a higher level in which we came in, a better understanding, with being able to utilize our power and our authority that God gave us, so we can go out there and we can fight that battle and fight the enemy. But we say we're Christians, but do we understand the real power of the living God? Oh, yes, David, I understand the power. Really? Do you know what Sunday school does to the first 11 books of the Bible, the first 11 chapters of Genesis? Do you understand what Sunday school does to the first 11 chapters of Genesis, which is the foundation of God? You go, what does that mean? This is what we're going to be talking tonight. The foundation of God. If we don't believe that, and I mean really believe it, how can we ever believe Jesus casting out demons, Jesus healing the sick, much less us doing it? You see, Sunday school has turned creation into a Disneyland. It's turned Adam and Eve into a Sesame Street. It's turned Noah and the ark and the flood into some episode on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Oh, cutesy. Oh, they're going to love it. No, it is the hard gospel. Let me tell you something. God in 6 days created everything that you see, the power of God. And then sin comes in and just destroys. And you see the manifestations of that. You see the ripple down effect of where we are now. You read the New Testament where Jesus was crucified, and you see how sin, and that is not a woman and an apple and a snake and a man. That is the fall of man. We're talking eternal consequences. The flood, the judgment, it's just, listen to me, the judgment, Noah and the ark, is just a glimpse. It's just a slight smell of the judgment that man will face when Jesus comes back. This will be a horrific experience. This judgment that God brought upon the people, wiping everyone out. Because God said, no. There'll come a day when Jesus comes back. Every knee will bow and every tongue will confess, whether they followed him or not. You are Lord. This stems back to the foundation of God, to the first 11. Genesis 1. Listen to me. Genesis. The beginning of the Bible, the beginning of creation, the fall of man, the flood. This is not a Sunday school fairy tale. It's serious business, folks. And unless we understand it, we can never, ever know who God is.
If you're like me, and you're tired of organized religion, the same kind of preacher preaching feel-good sermons, I'm a mom raising 2 kids, and I want them to hear the truth. I'm a gatherer right here on David Heavener Live, every Monday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, where we learn what it means to be a real Christian, to cast our demons, heal the sick, and fight the good fight. I'm not famous, and I'm certainly not rich. But I am a child of the living God, and I stand on truth. I hope you'll join me and many others right here on David Heavener Live, where we learn to use our God-given power. I've come to chew gum and kick the devil's rear end. And I'm all out of gum.
They've made many, many movies about aliens. But the question is, are they angelic or demonic? Why don't they want to acknowledge the supernatural?
The seminary education today, that when pastors are being trained, there's no emphasis on the supernatural, even though the Bible's a supernatural book.
As in the days of Noah, so it will be.
Yeah. And it goes down to, well, what is their ultimate purpose? Inaugurate the Antichrist.